British English with Alex. Right.
Hello and welcome to British English with Alex. Today I'm going to go over something I'm asked quite a lot about, or comes up in conversation quite a lot with Japanese people on like HelloTalk or when I lived there. And it's how British school systems work, or at least how mine did. I can only really talk about how mine worked, but I think it's pretty similar for everyone. So I'm going to get into sort of how they work, maybe try and pepper in sort of what the school day's like, stuff like that. In general, British school system goes a little bit something like this. You have sort of before school officially starts, I guess, when you're maybe 3 or 4, you have what's called nursery or reception, same as kindergarten or something like that in the US, and that is where basically the kids are taken while their parents go to work, where they play, maybe they learn a little bit, do painting and stuff like that, but it's not fully school yet. But once they get to 4 or 5 years old, you start at primary school. Primary school goes on from about 5 years old to between 10 and 11 years old. I think in Japan the equivalent would be shogakuse. So sort of around that time, that's when you first go to actual school. You tend to have a uniform. That's a big thing in British schools. I don't know necessarily carries across. I know it does later on, but in shogakuse, in primary school, everyone has a uniform. I don't think many schools don't do that. Most primary schools have a uniform, usually something along the lines of a shirt, just a white shirt, a jumper maybe with the school logo on it, and sort of smartish trousers, usually grey, black, something like that, and sort of black school shoes. It's very uniforms are a very primary feature of schooling in Britain. I think most do have these uniforms. I can't really think of any of my friends or anyone I know who didn't have a uniform at primary school, and then again at what comes after, secondary school. So secondary school is from sort of 10, 11 years old to 16, and this is sometimes broken into junior school and high school. Junior school being until you're about 14, so 10, 11 to 14, and then high school being, or senior school being 14 to 16. But usually, or at least again in a lot of cases, certainly in my case, this was just secondary school. It was one sort of building or group of buildings, one campus for everyone. Again, this is another one where you have a school uniform, usually a tie, shirt, either a blazer like a jacket, or again a jumper, and then sort of brown or grey trousers, just something plain, and smart looking shoes. This again is another case of the uniform thing. This is where it starts to get a little bit different. In some schools there are different ties for different sort of classes. I think some schools have houses, what they call houses, so you're assigned, kind of like in Harry Potter,
Gryffindor!
to a house for your school. I know my school did have them, but nothing really came of it. It was never really a big feature until a little bit later on. So it didn't really mean that much, but I know in some schools it does. It means people have different coloured uniform, different coloured ties, etc. My school wasn't a big feature until you sort of got to senior school, from sort of 14, 15 and 16, when we had what's called prefects. Again, if you know Harry Potter, this may be kind of familiar to you. But yeah, Harry Potter had prefects. A lot of schools actually have those. Usually as kind of glorified lunch staff. You tend to have a day in which you're assigned to a particular part of the school to make sure that the younger kids aren't running around or doing something dangerous where they shouldn't be, or going where they shouldn't be. So that was what I did as a prefect. You usually got just assigned with some of your friends to a certain part in the school, and just told all the smaller kids to go away and not come in. So I know in other schools it's a bit more choosy, a bit more selective, and a bit more prestigious, and there are other roles and responsibilities to go with that, but in my school it wasn't really a thing. But that brings us on after secondary school to what's called sixth form or college. So sixth form or college. This is from 16 to 18, and it's before you go to university. I think it maybe aligns kind of with kokosei in Japan, and this is where you basically do the exams that will determine whether you go into university or not. So British education as a whole, we have standardized exams pretty much by and large. The whole country takes the same exam in a subject dependent. So there are a few companies that are regulated to provide these exams, and those exams are pretty standardized. So if I took English, for example, there's maybe 3 different companies that would supply exams, standardized exams for English at a particular level. So the levels of standardized exams, at least again when I was in school, so at 15 and 16, you take what's called GCSE, General Secondary Certification of Education. So GCSE, so that would be General Certificate of Secondary Education. There we go, got it right. And then when you do go into sixth form, kokosei, you have another set of standardized exams that you take over the 2 years called A-levels. So these A-levels, again, it's certain companies that will provide them if you chose to take whatever, science, physics, for example. I know when I took physics, there was maybe in the country 3 companies that provided exams. Usually Oxford and Cambridge have a company. The Oxford and Cambridge universities have a company. They'll provide stuff. I think Wales, some companies in Wales also provide stuff. I know my English exam was actually done by a Welsh Board of Education, so a little bit strange, but yes. Point being that everyone in the country, by and large, sits one of 3 standardized exams in something. So if I had a friend in a different high school, in a different secondary school, likelihood is that I would have done the exact same exam as they did, which makes it quite easy when you go off to university, because universities will set their requirements at, you need to have A-levels, you need to have whatever, 4 A-levels, you need to have taken 4 subjects, and in those you need to have had, 3 A's and a B, and then that's the minimum requirements to go and study whatever you want to study at university. So this sort of standardized testing, I think, is very different from Japan. I think in Japan, most high schools set their own, most kokosei set their own exams, if I'm correct in that. If I'm not, let me know in the comments. But yeah, it's a little bit different from Japan in that way. So yeah, that is the major differences in the 2 different education systems between Japan and England, Japan and the UK, I should say. Although, actually saying that, I think maybe Scotland and Wales can have slight differences in and of themselves. So that's another thing that I don't really know about. So yeah, I just wanted to share with you guys some of my experience when it came to being educated in Britain, and how I think that differs from Japan, because it is asked of me a lot. There are a lot of times where I'm talking about when I was in primary school and people don't know what that is, or vice versa. So yeah, hope that was somewhat useful, somewhat interesting, and I hope that I can make more videos for you guys soon. I know I've taken a little bit of time off recently, I got quite busy, but I am planning to still release these videos. I do enjoy doing them, so if there is something that you want to see a video on, let me know in the comments below, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Bye bye.